Welcome to the spiritual sanctum of light. I'm so glad you could join us. We are going to continue our exploration of Mr. Hertog's Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch. We're looking at Key 108, and we are going to focus on verse 23. And this is where he has written, as man begins to unlock the mysteries of the Great Pyramid in relation to the biblical teachings, he will understand why Enoch told me that within the Great Pyramid, within a different energy field, the biochemical functions of the body of Moses and Jesus can be found. Now, with biochemical, we may immediately go to the body, but let's consider this in a different light, because biochemical does not necessarily mean this particular form. It can also imply intangible forms that can be seen or sensed, but are not necessarily solid from our perspective. So with that, let's look at this. The Great Pyramid. What is the Great Pyramid? Well, we've discussed the pyramid throughout many lessons that have been presented. And mind you, we're only in the first part of the book. There are 3 parts. And the pyramid is the triangle, which is the unmanifest kissing, the square, which is the manifest. Kissing is a gift. It's known as a gift. So what we have here is that the intangible, the unmanifest, presents, gives manifestation. So the two are connected. And many of my teachings suggest that the soul, which is said to be within us, the soul, as it radiates outward, the further away from the source it gets, the more solid it becomes. And that's just my thoughts on that, because I don't recall there being many, if any, teachings that suggest that the soul is the center of formation, the center of creation, and from it, as it radiates outward, form takes shape. So the Great Pyramid is the relationship between the manifest and the unmanifest, form and potentiality. And this is described in Genesis. Now, we have 2 creations of humankind that exists within Genesis. There is the soul, from which God created heaven, the soul, a dwelling place for God to be, and with that, God breathed the Spirit, the spark of life, that animating portion, inspiration, if you will, into that creation, making it a living soul. And then in the next chapter, God takes the dust and the mud of the earth and shapes it around that living soul. So there are 2 creations. There is the first, which is the unmanifest, and then the second, which is the manifest. And this is the relationship. This is what the pyramid represents. The triangle, the unmanifested, the potentiality as it kisses the concrete form manifestation. It is presented. The two are connected. And the relationship forms. Now we must also keep in mind that as Genesis goes, it tells us that the Spirit of God moved across the waters. Moved across the waters. That inspiration, that animation, that vibration that moves across the water. When, well, you've seen in many of the movies and such, when something moves quickly over top water, the water is stirred up, it's animated, becomes turbulent. And so heaven, being the dwelling place of God, but we are not there yet, so I apologize, I got ahead of myself. But at this time, as the Spirit of God is animating the dark waters, there was no earth, all was void, empty. You could say there was a mystery there, or there was ignorance there. Now, ignorance is not a bad thing, because before one becomes wise, they must recognize their ignorance. So, with God moving across the dark waters, stirring them up, agitating them, this is the consciousness, whether you want to call it subconsciousness or just consciousness, stirring, awakening, making inquiries, because it is the inquiries that are made, the questions that are asked, that move us, that animate us to discover their answers. And there was no earth. It was void of all form until this presence rose up within you, stirring your mind, stirring the flow of consciousness, agitating it. And in that agitation made itself known, because that is when the dwelling, the indwelling of that presence, God, divine, intelligence, whatever you choose to call it, made a home for itself. Thus, you could say this is the triangle coming to rest within the square. You, the unmanifest, coming to rest within you. And before it can rest within you, it must make a dwelling, a place to dwell, a place to exist. This is the awakening, the darkness upon the face of the deep, which God moved across. This is the awakening, the developing relationship, the resonance of energy fields, the relationship with the God within, if you will. Many have had this experience because quite often it is subtle. It is not something that is grand. This awakening within Genesis that is written down, that is captured for a brief moment is not really something that is spectacular. It is a very subtle event. Very subtle event. Because the waters are not necessarily turbulent, but they are stirred about, agitated. This is not something that is grand. Your introduction to the divine presence, to the God within you, the intelligence that rises up within you that is not quite yours, is not a grand event. It is something very subtle. It is like, wait, where did that thought come from? Was that me? That is the subtlety of the awakening process, because you truly do not become aware of your awakening until you have awakened. A very subtle process. And it is up to you to develop this relationship. At first, you may try to recreate the conditions of which it occurred. For myself, it was through meditation, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, probably closer to 30 years now. But I have been doing this for a while, nurturing this relationship. And as you begin to nurture this relationship, you no longer have to create the same conditions, because the relationship, the resonance, becomes so strong that eventually it becomes a part of you. So think of it like this. It's not that you become God, but that you walk with your God, because that which resides within you is not going to be like that which resides within me. It is a resonance. The friends that you select, they are similar to you, but not like you. That is like the relationship with the supreme, with the higher intelligence, however you choose to call it. It is within you. And as that relationship develops, it makes a dwelling place within you. It creates a bond. You create the bond. This intelligence or God creates the bond. It takes the two of you to create this bond, because a resonance is multiple systems coming together. Your body is a resonant field. And that is what happens. And through this, you begin to understand the relationship that Moses had with his God, the relationship that Jesus had with his Father. This is what is being suggested. And as I close this, think of the spiritual sanctum of light as a home for depth. Our ethos is rooted in the depth, the reflection, and the quiet unfolding of our awareness. We don't chase the emotional highs or dramatic displays. As I said, all that occurs is of a subtle nature. And we honor this subtle nature, this steady transformative work within ourselves. If this resonates with you and you find meaning in this, we invite you to join us, to join our Sanctum on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find links to attend remotely or directions if you are in the Michiana area at our website, which is sanctumoflight.org. And we invite you to add your voice to ours, because as you make connections, as you share those connections, they are strengthened. I want to thank you for joining me, and may the rest of your day be as exciting as mine.